tight end U starts this week. Congratulations, George Kittle. They're going to do some classroom work. They're going to do some whatever, beer pong, whatever the hell they do.
No. Tell me what they do with tight end U. I'd like to know. The classroom work? Is there a coach there, or does George Kittle lead the meeting?
I don't know who leads. I mean, George was talking.
I'd love to know
last week that they do. This
Could I get a syllabus? Could I get a schedule?
Jordan Reed is going to talk about releases. They have a whole thing planned out. Whatever.
Jordan Reed. Nice.
Do what you do. That's fine.
Is Tony Gonzalez going to be there?
Yes, actually, I think he might.
Boom.
Yeah, that's definitely a guy you want to learn
Summit.
From. Congratulations. My point on George Kittle is I think that how he ended last year was huge for him, because I think if he doesn't have the year he had last year, I don't know if he's still on the team this year. And I think he needs a big year this year to be on the team in 2024. Are you with me there?
I am with you there. And I think people may forget this because a lot has happened in the last year, like, the season and Javon Kinlaw. But like before all of that stuff, I was the guy saying trade George Kittle, and people were mad at me for that. And then they were mad at me for Javon Kinlaw, which was bigger. But in like February or March, I was like, no, January. As soon as the season ended, I'm like, what are they paying George Kittle $20 million a year or whatever, $17 million a year for? The guy ended the season in the playoffs catching like 30 yards a game. He's almost 30. Get rid of him. And the season started that way for him. He was hurt. He had a slow start, and all of a sudden Brock Purdy took over, and in the red zone, Brock's like, wait, where's George? For the first time in George's career. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, keep George. He's really good. So, yeah, I feel like he kind of answered those questions. He has to do it again, but now I'm sort of looking at Debo like, okay. What about you? Like, you were carrying the offense like George at one point, but now you're not. And we got to see, now you're very expensive. So you got to justify that. Debo.
I think that I agree. George, at the end of the year, his touchdown pace was incredible. He had a quarter of his career touchdowns in the 5 games with Brock
Crazy.
Purdy. Shout out to Sawdust.
I blame Jimmy for that, man. Like, you had this all-time great tight end in his prime, and you couldn't get him the ball in the red zone, and Brock comes in and he could do it. Like, come on, dog. And Kyle, too. It's like Brock has to go off script to find him. But come on, guys.
It was a little weird. I talked about it many times, how frustrating it was. I told George to his face when I interviewed him, I didn't think he scored enough touchdowns. He didn't really like that, by the way.
What tight end isn't a threat in the red zone? Like, all tight ends. I never understood that about George Kittle, and I always felt like it's not a George thing. It's a Kyle and Jimmy thing, and Brock proved it. So shout out to all 3 of them. I mean, 2 of them.
Sawdoff says, easily the best duo for 49ers podcasts. Grenade says, weak-ass podcast. So shout out to
Remember when people used to raise the roof? I don't know why they were raising the roof, but they used to raise it in the 90s. So I'm raising the roof.
Man, that video clip's going to live forever, Grant. So thank you for that. The Kittle thing, though, he did put up a lot of touchdowns, but if you look at his numbers, and I'll try and pull them up here real quick.
They were down from 2021.
Was still like
765 yards. Yeah.
Like, look at his games down the stretch last year, right? The Miami game, 2 catches, 22 yards. Tampa Bay, 4 catches, 28 yards. He had a big game against Seattle and a big game against Washington. But then against the Raiders, 4 catches, 23. Yeah. There's too many of those. So he needed those touchdowns, because otherwise you're looking at him and you're like, I know he's a good blocker, but damn.
Can I advocate for George here? Because I feel like, even though I don't think George likes me, or I don't, whatever. But I feel like it's tough. It all comes back to Kyle. Kyle's calling the plays. And it's just who he decides to feature that week. A lot of times he does this to Aiyuk. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't do it to Debo or McCaffrey, but he will kind of take turns who he's featuring, Kittle or Aiyuk that week. And I think with Kittle at this stage in his career, it is probably smart not to feature him every week. Like, he steps up in the primetime games. He destroyed Arizona and Mexico City. He didn't destroy, but he had big plays against the Cowboys. He steps up when you need him, for sure.
I do agree that some of it has to do with Kyle. Absolutely. I definitely agree.
Like pacing. Although he doesn't pace McCaffrey.
No, he absolutely does not. But at the same time, like, if that's going to be your philosophy, then why are you paying this guy that much money? And that was always my thing, is I think the 49ers were going to get to a point where they looked at it and they were like, this just isn't an efficient allocation of resources. And Kittle knew it too, because he was talking with Mike Silver before the year began about how he's not going to take less money. And if the Niners won't pay him, somebody else will. So I think George was very aware of it going into last year too.
Well, you got to remember when he signed this extension, like where the Niners were. It was coming off 2019, and he was the offense in 2019, more than Debo, more than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's not anymore. He's still a great player, but he's like the third option in the passing game, maybe second or third, maybe fourth some days. You know what I'm saying? Like on those. So you're paying him $19 million a year and he's almost 30. That's why I said last year, hey, trade him now. I'm not saying he's washed, but trade him a year early as opposed to waiting, and he's getting expensive. But after the year he came off, he still has tremendous value. You could trade him. You could keep him. I mean, look at how Travis Kelce's doing into his 30s. So I'm almost backing off of trading Kittle a little bit. I feel like he and Brock have something going. And unless his body breaks down, like, I'm putting this against Kittle against Debo. Whose body's going to break down? Last year, I thought it was going to be Kittle. Now I'm like, I don't know. It might be Debo. You know, like Kittle actually seems like he's losing weight and kind of changing his body type so he can have more longevity, while Debo has the thickest legs I've ever seen. He's thick with 8 C's, 8 of them. So I don't know. We'll see.
David says huge catch against the Cowboys, the bobble for a clutch first down. That was a huge catch. Absolutely made some massive.
Did they win without that play? I don't know.
They were not doing anything. Shout out to YouTube channel member JM617. All Kittle needs to do is get fed the ball and he'll do the rest. That's what he has shown in his career. If you feed him, he'll produce the yardage that Travis Kelce will produce. And again,
will he stay healthy?
Right.
Kelce stays healthy because he doesn't play as physical.
My thing is, whatever the reason, the salary is the salary, and teams don't like to pay a high salary and not get that much production out of it. Now, we'll see.
True.
I think he could have a massive year this year. I think he has. Well, let me ask you, who has the most stake in the outcome of the 49ers quarterback situation this year? Is it Debo? Is it Kittle? Or is it Brandon Aiyuk?
I think it's Aiyuk, because Ayuk's fighting for that second contract. Debo and Kittle have already gotten it. Kittle's working on the third. Debo's working on the third. But they're all essentially they all have achieved generational wealth. Aiyuk is very wealthy because he was a first-round pick, but no. I think this is his year. Just hearing how the players and coaches are talking about Aiyuk, it sounds like Kyle is coming into this season anticipating featuring Aiyuk more. Aiyuk already made his point, like, I'm the fourth option on a run first team. What do you want from me? Everyone's saying he's tearing up these practices and that he's going to be, I mean, you have a lot of his teammates saying he's going to be asserting himself as one of the best wide receivers in the league this year. That to me says Kyle's saying it. That to me says Kyle's going to call more, give him more targets, which he freaking earned. He deserves it. He's like 25. He's ascending. Come on. And one thing about Kyle I'll give him credit for, he seems to cater to players who are in contract years. He doesn't work against them. When Debo was in a contract year, he gave him all the targets he needed, and he got him paid. So he's given Aiyuk a lot of tough love. Now it's time to get Aiyuk paid. He deserves it. I think Kyle comes through.
The thing with Shanahan is, like, with the Niners, it's like you said earlier, right? Who does he want to feature this week? But that's not always the way he's worked. I saw Kyle Shanahan make Pierre Garçon lead the league in catches. So, like, he knows how to feature guys and feed guys. Now, maybe he just doesn't feel like he needs to do that in San Francisco because they have so many good players. But it's not always like, oh, Kyle Shanahan always spreads the ball around. So if he wants to get you the ball, he can. Do you think that's going to be an issue? Like, if we're halfway through the year and Aiyuk has had, like, you know, the two kind of quote unquote feature games, and then he's not getting the ball, or, you know, or Kittle's not getting the ball because Aiyuk's blowing out. Like, do you think that there's going to be some kind of strife there?
Maybe, but the way I think about it, me and Kyle think alike because we like each other and we're both geniuses. So the way I would do this is it's a long season, right? Debo has had injury concerns. McCaffrey's had injury concerns. Kittle has had injury concerns. Aiyuk has not. So to me, Aiyuk is going to drive you through the regular season. You're going to run the ball a lot, but when you want, that's your number one receiver. Throw to Aiyuk a lot. He can take an increased workload. You don't have to worry about pacing him. He's 25 years old. Let him take you through the regular season and then get Kittle, Debo, and McCaffrey to the playoffs healthy, and then figure it out from there in the playoffs what your pecking order is. But I feel like Aiyuk should have a huge regular season because he's durable, he's young, and he's got money to make, baby.
Yeah, he's going to be motivated. Like,
yeah.
And like, people, I sometimes have a negative connotation with that. Like, oh, it's in a contract year. Like, yeah, dude. Like, it doesn't mean he wasn't trying previous years, but there's a difference when you know you've got tens of millions of dollars at stake. Like, it's just going to be different.
Yeah, you could have tens of hundreds of dollars at stake, and people in the chat would be like giving the most laser focus they've ever given to anything in their lives. So yeah, hell yeah. It's natural.
Pro says Aiyuk needs to catch those clutch passes that drop against Seattle in the playoffs. Could have gotten him paid this offseason if he caught it. He does drop some big passes. I have to say, and all
he does
passes. But damn,
Debo drops more, Juwan drops more, but Kittle drops fewer. Aiyuk needs to cut because he has, like Juwan, he has really good hand-eye coordination, long arms. He should be snagging these catches. So that'd be something he could improve for sure. We can all remember his drops from last year in the end zone. In the end zone, multiple in the end zone.
That Brock play, I mean, my God. That if he makes that catch, that's like an all-time play. Like people are like, maybe not an all-time play, but it's a great play, and people are saying, "Look at Brock as the man. He's so mobile." Like
that would have been his number one highlight.
Yep,
but
we forget about it because it was incomplete.
Yeah, it's true. Also, there was one I think when Jimmy was the quarterback, it might have been against the Rams, where Aiyuk had this beautiful I don't know what kind of route it was at the goal line on the left, and he just let it clank off his chest in the end zone. So yeah, Aiyuk, you got it. If you cut that out, you could be Justin Jefferson, but you're not Justin Jefferson yet. But I do think he's that good. Can I come back to tight end you for a second? What is it? Okay, so whenever I see a lot of people taking pictures, it seems like a great photo opportunity. To me, it seems like a really smart promotional event in the dead period of the offseason when there's nothing to talk about, and now people talk about tight end you and don't even know what it is. And it's like the whole idea is tight ends are kind of like running backs, but not as. But I mean, like they're kind of discriminated against. Like they could put up great numbers, but you're not going to make wide receiver money. So it seems like a way to increase the profile of the position, which is smart. But do I have to? I mean, they're not paying me to do it. Do I have to help them? I feel like they're doing a great job on their own. Playing beer pong and doing it for. It feels like a fraternity fundraiser.
Yeah, I think that's kind of true.
I was in a frat. I remember how it goes. You say it's for a good cause, but come on.
Well, I mean, two things can be true, right? They could go and have a party and have a good time and also do some good things for charity. But yeah, I don't think tight end U is taking like scrub tight ends and suddenly making them awesome. Like that's not.
How did you become an all-pro tight end U? I mean, George broke it down. It was a 4 hours. I couldn't believe what he said. And the light bulb went on. Nah, man. I mean, I met a bunch of tight ends. You got some numbers, networked, took some pictures.
Sawed-Off says Vernon Davis greater than George Kittle. That's not what Vernon Davis says. He told me George Kittle is the greatest 49ers player to ever wear 85. So
you have to say stuff like that. Tom Rathman said, privately, I was sitting next to him in the game and he's watching Juszczyk against the Cowboys in the playoffs and he's saying like, man, this guy's better than me. Like, no, Tom, no, he's not. Don't say that.
Better than Tom Rathman.
Get out of here. Tom Rathman, look at his rushing number. Juszczyk can't run the ball. He can't run the ball at all. Tom Rathman was like a legitimately good runner.
Tom Rathman differently than they use Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah, because he could do more.
Oh, okay. Are you telling me that Tom Rathman's more athletic than Kyle Juszczyk?
No, and Rathman would say that too. But does that make you a better football player? No, it doesn't. Thank you, Alex Trebek. I win. Sorry, I'm excited.
I love all the yelling. I got Grant yelling.
I need to know.
We got you always yell on this show, Grant. I don't know why, but
it's because I have like 2 cups of coffee. I get really worked up, and then I like woosah from like 11 o'clock on in the day. But now you got.
Now they live forever.
Your take. Give me your take. What do you see? What do you see?
If you say it on the show, I'll bring it back.